Hi Blender fans, and welcome again to Blender TC. In today's tutorial we'll be making a lamp, but we're only going to use a circle to do this. So let's begin. First of all, what we're going to do is show you a few of the keys, which is a G, which moves it the cube all around. Ctrl Z will always undo, and G and X moves along the red line, G and Y along the green, and G and Z up and down. Moving your mouse will make these controls, and Ctrl Z will undo everything. Tab key will take you in and out of edit mode. I'm just going to change this so it puts into the small square boxes, and tab will also take you in and out of edit mode, and S will scale, Ctrl Z, E will extrude, E, Z, and Ctrl Z undoes everything. X deletes, and for this tutorial we do not need the cube, so what I'm going to select first is I'm going to select a circle. So I'm going to add in a mesh, and the mesh is going to be a circle. I'm going to scale this down 0.5 just so it gets to the actual, that makes that circle about a meter across now, which is quite big for a lamp. Press the tab key, go into edit mode, A to select all. You've got point select, line select, and face select. If we go on line select, press the A key, and we're selecting everything. E to extrude in the Z direction, E to extrude, Z. I'm just going to scale that in slightly. I'm now going to extrude this up. In fact, that's a bit too thick, so I'm just going to E and scale it down, and then E and Z to extrude my lamp up in the air. G and Z just to move it a bit higher, and E and Z to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, just one little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press F to put a face on there, E to extrude, S to scale, and G and Z, we'll move that down, E and Z, and that's where my light is going to actually fit. Let's smooth this off. As you can see, there's some distortion here, so what I'm going to do is go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, Ctrl and R will put a loop cut in things, and if you want to make something less distorted, Ctrl and R, just put a loop cut towards an edge. This also sharpens edges up, so I'm just going to put one at the base here, one at the base here, and one just about there. And if we go into edit mode, any faces that you want to be sharp, all you've got to do is put two loop cuts together just to make them sharp. So just put one on the inside here just to sharpen that edge, and press tab to come out of edit mode. The next thing I'm going to make is that we're going to make the wireframe that the shade is going to sit on. So add another circle, add a mesh, add a circle. At this time we're going to actually click on the circle here, and we're going to change it to 33. Go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, A to select all, S to scale, oops, E then S just to scale. In fact, we can't see that, so what I'm going to do is come back out of edit mode, G and Z just to move it up slightly, back into edit mode, A to select all, E to extrude, S to scale, and I'm just going to go until it nearly touches the pipe in the middle. We're now going to hit the back out of edit mode by pressing the tab key, and then hit the 7 key. Go into edit mode, and what we're going to do is count 11 of these. So we've got point select, line select, and face select. Select the faces, and I'm going to count to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm doing this by holding the shift key and left clicking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then I'm going to right click and dissolve faces. Do this for the next 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and dissolve faces again. Now we know that there's, because we actually made this circle with 33 faces, and we know that there's 11 left here, so I'm just going to select the first one, hold CTRL down, select the last one which highlights them all, and dissolve faces once again. So we've now got part of our lampshade. I'm just going to move it up to just about there, and what we're going to do is hit in the wrench or the spanner, add a wireframe. So add a wireframe. I'm just going to increase this to 0.03, in fact 0.04, and I'm going to select boundary. Selecting boundary closes this face here, so hit the boundary, and we've now got a wireframe, and that's about it. The only thing I'm going to do now is Shift and D, which is duplicate, G and Z to move a second one up there, scale by 0.5, which makes it half as small again. I'm now going to add in I'm now going to join these two together. So select that one and select that one, and then join. And all we need to do to complete this is we need to apply this modifier. So apply the modifier, and that's about it. The only thing we've not done is we've got to have lines going from that point there to this point, and that point to that point, and that point to that point. This is quite easily done, because what we do is go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, go to these edges, select line select, select that line, and then scroll up and move your mouse up to the top. So we've got those two edges there selected, these two edges there selected, and all I've got to do is press F just to add faces. The other way you could do that is just by bridging edges, which is a different way, but it still works in the same way. So I've selected those two edges and those two edges. Same again, as you can see they're selected and they're selected. So if we were to right click this, and we could bridge loops, which does exactly the same thing. It's up to you whether you use pressing the F key to make the faces, or you bridge the loops. So select that, and then bridge edge loops, or press F to actually add faces. So there we have it. We've got the wireframe and we've got the candlestick stand. So I'm just going to rename that. I'm just going to call that one wire, and this one stand. S-T-A-N-D. The only thing it hasn't got is it hasn't got a bottom on there. It's entirely up to you if you want to put a bottom on this. I'm going to do that now. E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude in the Z direction, and then I'm just going to put a face there just to give it a bottom. But it's entirely up to you if you do it or you don't do it. Looking for the top, you can press the 1 key looks from the front and the 7 key looks from the top. I'm just going to add in another mesh, and the mesh I'm going to add in is a circle. Now scale the circle. Before I do that, what I'm going to do is change the vertices back to 32, because I want 32 faces on the circle this time, and I'm going to scale it up slightly until it's about there, and then G and Z, move it up to about there. Looking from the top, I'm going to edit mode by pressing the tab key, go on to point select, select this point here, then press A. Selecting the point is quite critical, and then we're going to select checkered deselect, which selects every other point around the point that we selected. So scale that down and we get that kind of shape. Back out to edit mode, and I'm just going to duplicate that by pressing Shift and D just to duplicate it, and G and Z. Take it so the point actually goes in the center of your cage or wireframe, and scale. If you look from the top, you can actually scale it however you want. I'm just doing it so it just touches that wire, and then what I'm going to do is select that bottom one, select the top one, and then join them together. We then go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, A to select all, then we right click our mouse button, and because we're not on edge select, it doesn't work, so select edge select, right click our mouse button again, and then bridge edge loops. I'm just going to move this slightly up, so press the Alt key and the left click, G and Z, and I'm just going to scale this down until I can just see the loops, just touching slightly, and same on the bottom. Hold the Alt key down and left click and just scale it down until I can just see the loops showing through. So there it is. We've now got a lamp. I'm just going to hide part of the lamp, H to hide, and I'm going to hide the wireframe, H to hide that. Now I'm going to add in a mesh, and the mesh I'm going to add in is a sphere. Scale it down until it's about the size of your light bulb. Move it up to the top, scale it down a little bit smaller. I think that's about right for my light bulb, and right click and hit smooth shade. And now what I'm going to do is go into rendered mode and select ambient occlusion, bloom, subsurface reflections. This just allows me to set up parts of the scene, so what I'll do is add a texture into it, and the texture I'm just going to add is the default white, but what I'm going to do is change this principal shader for an emission shader. We do that by selecting the yellow dot. Selecting the yellow dot. No, we don't. We check that by selecting the green dot, and go into emission shader, and I'm just going to increase the strength to 4 just to make it actually glow like a light bulb, and then Alt and H will unhide everything that I have hidden. Right. To make our light work, we need something to be actually reflected on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a plane, and the mesh I'm going to add is, so add in a plane, scale that up just so it looks like a little table, and I think I'm going to move it G to about there, so I get some quite nice shadows and reflections off the light when I do add them. I'm now going to select 2 edges, so I'm going to select, go into edit mode and select these 2 edges, and E and scale. Right, and I'm going to make myself some walls and just put E and Z just to move it up like so, just out of camera shot, just looking at that, and G and Z, select that and select that, GG, we'll move it down, looking through the window, and as you can see my camera is a bit low, so I'm just going to select the camera, G and Z just to move it up, No, I'm still in edit mode, so come out of edit mode, select the camera, G and Z, which will just fetch everything into center shot. And lastly, I'm going to select this edge, face, select this face, and G, E and Z, just to take it down, because I'm making like a table against a wall, or just away from a wall, and I just want the reflections to mimic that. Hello? Yes, Jess? Yeah, I'll get the spider out of the bath so I can get a shower. Right. Now that our lamp is done, all we need to do now is add a bit of lighting. So I'm just going to take this light up here, X to delete, and that plunges our scene into darkness. I'm now going to add in a light, and the light I'm going to add is a point light, and G and Z just to move it up. I'm just going to take it up here and increase its brightness to about 60 watts. Alright, so we've now created our model and we need to actually do our lighting. The best thing we can do our lighting in is cycles. So what I'm going to do is now switch to cycles. I think that Eevee is best for modelling, but cycles is best for if you want something to look a bit real. Eevee is better for cartoon type things. So I'm just going to switch it over to cycles, go into GPU compute, and as you can see what we've got now, if I go into there, is we've now got like a spotlight there. If we click on the actual details of the light, if we make this smaller, 0, if we take that down to 0, as you can see the actual shadows become really sharp, and if I take it up they become less sharp. So I'm just going to take it up to about there, which I quite like the look of, and now we're going to start adding some colour to our scene. So first of all I'm going to add in a colour to the floor. I'm going to call this floor colour FLOOR and make this some kind of beigey colour. Right, so I've added colour to my floor. Next I'm going to change the actual shader of the actual, that's what I'm going to do, is select the shade of add a new shader to the lampshade. So select the lampshade, go new, I'm going to make it a red colour, and I'm going to have a bit of metallic, so it's entirely up to you how you do this. Leave the roughness at 0.5, take the sheen tint at, leave the sheen tint at 0.5, and what I'm going to do is add some transmission so we can see the light through it, and take it up to about 800 or just above, just until I get something that I like the look of. And I'm going to take the roughness up slightly just to blur it that little bit. Now just render that, just have a quick look at this. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to stop the render there, and next what I'm going to do is make this into a metal lampstand. So select the lampstand, go new, I'm just going to call this metal, and what I'm going to do is select the green dot here, and I'm going to put anisotropic BFDS. It just makes quite a good metal. And if you actually select the tangent here and we add in a tangent again, we can select radial, we change these up and down. What we get is a metal type material, but you can't really see it yet because we haven't added an HDRI to give us a better accurate lighting, so let's just add the HDRI now. So select the little world. In colour, what we want is an environmental texture, which will turn the scene purple. And we're going to open my HDRIs, just fetch them onto here. I get these from HDR Heaven, and I'm going to add the Crawley, is it Kaylee interior, and you'll find this on his site. As you can see, that's a little bit bright, so I'm just going to change that to 0.1. Hit the denoise function, which is found up here on the render. Denoise, and just hit the two denoising tabs. I don't quite like that material there on the candlestick, so I'm just going to have a little bit of a play around with it until I like the look of it. Let's have a bit of play around with it. Just taking the roughness up to 1. Take the roughness down. Change the colour slightly. And change that to radial. Let's just try rendering that. As you can see, we're getting quite a realistic lamp. All I'm going to do now is just change some of the light, because I think it's just a little bit too bright. Yep, I think that's okay. The only thing is I need to now take the world down a bit, just to make it a little bit darker and a bit more interesting, and then press F12 to render, and there you have it. As you can see, we've now rendered a lamp. The only thing that we haven't got is a cable going out the back of it, and we can quickly make that if you wish. So let's just make that quite quickly. I'm just going to go back into viewport shading, and what I'm going to do is just select at the back here, select this face here, E to extrude, G, and G and Z just to move it up into the air so it's above the table again. And what I'm going to do is Control and R to put some loop cuts into here, because I want to make the actual cable vanish off the side. So G and Z. But what we need to do is enable proportional editing by making a little blue dot appear here. G and Z to take the cable behind the G and Z so it's not in camera shot. As you can see, if we're looking from the camera, and G and Z, G and X even, I'm just going to move it round there, G and Y just round there, just to make it that kind of cabley shape. And all I'm going to do is select a point on there, Control and plus, just to actually highlight it until it's out of shot, and then I'm just going to add in another colour to it, and the colour I'm going to add to it is plus the standard colour, which is a white colour, and I'm just going to assign it. So as you can see, if we go into edit mode now, you should have like a white cable like you'd have in a lamp, and what we'll do is now render that, and that's our modelling finished. Right, and that's our lamp finished. Thank you for joining me on Blender TC, and don't forget to leave a comment and ring that bell. Bye for now. You like my light?
But the mist are perfect. It's okay, but
What?
What?
You like my light, I said.
Don't have any actual lights, do we?
No, I'm just playing around with it render.
Have you got a picture of an actual light with a lampshade?
I have somewhere. Right.
Because normally don't they have a shadow where the rim is? Because you've got the actual light, but there's a shadow where the rim is.
Yeah. Depends on the light, I suppose, doesn't it? It's better.
I think Mum might like this, to be honest.